Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we're going to go back and have a look at a story we covered last week, but there's new a new twist on it now, because something has happened, something amazing. You've got religious people from all persuasions, Catholic, Protestant, Methodist, Jewish, everyone. They're all coming together and they're showing a united front against one particular law that the SNP wants to bring in. A law so very vague in its terms that it is going to be a catch-all, and it's done deliberately, vaguely, so that it becomes a catch-all rather than targeting anything specific. And the reason is because the specifics that it's trying and saying it's protecting from already exist. Those protections already exist in law. But it's not enough for some of these extremists, and they want this very wide encompassing law so that they can basically criminalise everyone and anyone who wants to protect their children or have a conversation with their children or stop their children from doing enormous permanent damage to themselves. So we will take a look at this, because this is a very, very bad law. It's one that needs not to go forward. It needs to be resisted. But are there anyone in Holyrood with the balls to resist it? Let's have a look. So, pressure piles on the SNP Conversion Therapy bill due to be unveiled in January. Now, I've said this is a very broad bill, and it basically wants to criminalise people who wish to protect or talk or discuss things with their own children. It's up to the point where the state will have the power to remove your children from your care, hand them over to the state, so that the state can then allow children of any age to permanently damage themselves and sterilise themselves without parental consent, destroying their futures, destroying their lives, and remembering that the rate of self-ending for these people is 10 times higher. It's going to remove the right of parents to even discuss this with their children, or to suggest that it may just be a phase, or there may just be their puberty affecting them. That all becomes illegal. You can guarantee this was one of those Greens policies. You can tell that because it is actually totally inhumane. And of course, the actual provisions of protection that they're claiming already exist in law. But this isn't there to protect children. This is there to encourage the state to control children, to push an agenda that does not need to be pushed, but it is an agenda of degeneracy, because they want to control and to do these and to destroy an entire generation of children. This law needs to be rejected at every single stage. And anyone, be they MP, MSP, councillor, man in the street, it does not matter. Anyone who supports this bill is possibly breaking the European Convention on Human Rights. It is therefore a crime against humanity. Even supporting this bill makes you a monster. The upcoming legislation will criminalise those offering religious support, says members of the Catholic Church, and yet more criticism of the SNP Green plans. You guarantee it's green. There she is. Emma Roddick is pushing this. She's pushing such a degenerate piece of legislation that you wonder why she even dares show her face. She should be ashamed of herself for what she's doing. The SNP government has been told not to target parents and teachers, with legal penalties drawn up in a conversion therapy ban that is due to be unveiled in January. This ban means, literally, if you have a child that says, "Oh, I think I'm a girl now, Daddy," and he's a boy, you cannot sit down and have a conversation and say, "What makes you think this?" "Well, I don't think you're a boy. I think you're just going through puberty," or something like that. That immediately makes you a criminal. At that point, the state will have the right to remove that child from your care, simply for having that conversation. And here's what's really worrying. If that child then says, "I'd like to become a girl, I'd like to take the medication and have the bits cut off," and let's say this child is, 10 years of age, you cannot stop that from happening. If you say no and refuse to give your permission, you are then seen as being phobic. You are breaking the law. It's almost a hate crime. The child will be removed from your care. It will go through these things. It will have all these things done to it. And then If they then say, okay, you can have your child back, you'll be taking a son away and bringing back a daughter, and there you go, there's Susan. And Susan's had her balls cut off, and Susan's growing breasts, and Susan's wearing a nice frock. And then in 6 years' time, Susan realises it was just a phase, and Susan wants to be Stephen again. Too late for Steve, his balls are in a jar. And the government will have done that to you. That's what can go on within this law. I'm not kidding. This isn't hyperbole. This is actually what is in this law. Anyway, the point of concern was raised by opponents of the bill that it will seek to criminalise anyone who questions an individual's assertion that they are transgender by characterising any conversation as conversion therapy. And it will also criminalise the questioning of sexual orientation. You dare not question someone's sexual orientation. That makes you a criminal to simply question it. Asking questions should never be a crime. Statements may often be a crime, but asking questions, never. Among the critics is the Catholic Church, which warns that parents, teachers and clerics will be penalised for having legitimate conversation with members who choose to live in accordance with their beliefs. It comes as Equalities Minister and all right, in every single way, piece of human shit, Emma Roddick, said the Scottish Government would be publishing its consultation for a bill on January the 9th with the backing of the Scottish Greens, because of course. I mean, you've got Maggie Chapman, the lowest piece of slimy scum that ever drew breath. A woman who looks to sexualise children, a woman who looks to absolutely damage and destroy children through legislation, a woman who's incredibly weird. She's massively damaging brain. I think she's actually to the point where she is brain damaged. There is something wrong in her head that she would do this to children all the time, pushing her degenerate agenda constantly. The woman is a menace. She's a maggot. In fact, she's not even a maggot. She's lower than a maggot. And she wants to do this. So of course it's her pushing this. How dare parents talk to their children? How dare parents not allow those children to be sterilised on an industrial scale? This woman would have done well in, Bergen, Belsen, Sobibor, Auschwitz, as a guard, as an experimenter. She would have been there up there. She'd have been Mengele's ward assistant, wouldn't she? Come on, doctor, I've got another set of boys we can cut their bollocks off. And she'd have taken great joy in it as she's destroying human beings, because that's what she is, the destroyer of human beings. Anyway, opposition to the bill has already come from the Church of Scotland, the Scottish Episcopal Church, the Elim Pentecostal Church, the Free Church of Scotland, the United Free Church of Scotland, Associated Presbyterian Churches, and the We Free. The We Free lining up with the Catholics? That shows how bad this bill is. When you've got the We Free and the Catholics on the same side. For heaven's sake, how bad is it? Now, I'm not particularly religious, but I'm pretty aware of what all those churches getting together means. And I'm also totally aware of what this bill does to parents and to children. This will cause so much damage to the most vulnerable in society. Why would you target and make a law that would completely destroy children? Why would you do that? Unless there is something fundamentally wrong and evil about the people drawing up this bill. But with Maggot Chapman, of course, that is exactly what it is. A letter signed by over 450 church and pastoral figures, as well as over 1,100 members of the public, was sent to Miss Roddick last month, claiming that existing laws are sufficient to deal with abusive practices. Gender critics also believe that in order to protect children from the harmful impact of attempts to change sex, professionals, parents and teachers should be able to create spaces where feelings can be questioned and explored. To do anything else is to absolutely destroy children's lives. To not allow parents to talk to their children, to question what's going on. How is this even possible? Who would come up with such a degenerate, inhumane, evil law other than someone who is completely inhuman, degenerate and evil? Someone like Maggot Chapman. They said, we would urge the Scottish Parliament not to criminalise mainstream religious pastoral care parental guidance, and medical or other professional intervention relating to sexual orientation, which is not approved by the state as acceptable. While the lack of clarity about what is meant by the term conversion practices could create a chilling effect and may criminalise advice or opinion given in good faith, and that's what will happen. This is why it's so broad and bland. They deliberately choose these words. They don't want to be specific. Because if they were specific and they were saying this, this and this, but the laws already exist for this, this and this, they want a catch-all. They want to make a very broad term so that they can grab complete and utter control of your children. And you are about to let this happen. And anyone who voted for the SNP is now voting for the mass sterilisation of children. They're voting for the state to take your children from you because your child might be gay and you don't like that and you might want to have a conversation. And the moment you have that conversation, you are a criminal. Is that what you voted for? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't on their manifesto. If it wasn't on the manifesto, why are they now sneaking this in under the line? Because they know how disgusting it is, and they know that if that was on the manifesto, a lot of people would not have voted for them. They didn't want to tell people the shit they want to do to children, but it's always been us, sexualising children for years. That's the SNP. Just look at the members. Look at all the ones who like to touch children. Loads of them. We all know what the P stands for, but now they're out there blatantly pushing it. We want to turn all these young boys very feminine so we can supply them for all the new Scots coming in. That's what all this is. Oh dear. Ms Roddick told Holyrood in a written answer that the Scottish Government has carefully considered a wide range of evidence and expert advice, and we know for a fact that that is complete and utter bullshit. And she will not listen to anyone who's an expert. No expert would tell anyone that this law is a good thing, that it's a very wide encompassing law is a good thing. Target particular things, but to have that, no. And to not allow parents to go along with this will destroy children. They know it and they don't care. And when they know it destroys children and they're still pushing it, what does that tell you about the SNP? I'm coming up. As each day goes on, I think it becomes more and more apparent that this SNP Green Alliance is simply a front for abuse of children. They thieve, they steal, they're corrupt, they're inept. All of these things are almost forgivable in comparison with what they want to do to children. And it's all the time. It's not just a one-off. It seems to be a whole trend. And that's what these people are. And those SNP voters who watch this channel, hate watch, I know you hate watch me. But really, is that what you want for your children? Perhaps it's time to reassess exactly why you support the SNP. You can't really defend this, can you? Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and for God's sake, protect your children. And let's vote these dangerous peds out of office. Bye.